Welcome into Triple Zeros. I'm your host, Josh Buckhalter. Follow me on Twitter at JoshGBuck. Hit up the Facebook page, Clocker Sports, website clockersports.com, and the email address is clockersports@gmail.com. Getting right into it, man. First things first, we got to talk about hardware was given out. Ja Morant of the Memphis Grizzlies won Rookie of the Year. It was made official. He had been won it, but they made it official, giving him the award. He celebrated with his adorable little daughter, so we got to see that during, I guess it's still the lockdown technically, even though most things are opening back up. That's not the point. Either way it goes. The young man burst on the scene from Murray State, averaged 17.8 points, 3.9 boards, and 7.3 assists, leading the Memphis Grizzlies to the 8th seed before the shutdown and subsequent restart. They ended up losing their plays and lost that play-in game to the Portland Trail Blazers. Lost Jaren Jackson earlier on in the process, and that kind of, I think doomed them to their fate. But Morant shot 47% from the floor, 33% from three. He's gonna have to improve on that, but I think he will. First year. He also went 77% from the free throw line, and honestly, I think one of the things that stood out the most was his knack for the big play. Or for not backing off from the big moment. Doesn't shy away from the big moment. There it is, if I could get that out. You see a lot of guys, a lot of young guys especially, and we'll talk about one in a moment here. They kind of shy away and maybe not shrink, but they definitely don't handle the pressure of those moments very well. And I think for Ja, you kind of saw him, attack that moment. You saw him kind of embrace it and want it more. And I think, like I said, most people were writing them off once Jaren Jackson went down, but they ended up making a nice little push to try to get to the postseason. Didn't work out for them, but they didn't handle the bubble well in and of itself. And I think that's due to them being such a young team, but Ja was still trying to do his thing. They went, if I pull it up properly here, they went 2-6 while they were down in the bubble, with Ja pitching in 19 points, 6 boards, and almost 10 assists, 9.9 assists per game, shooting 39 from the floor and 22% from three. So like I said, in the playoffs and in the bubble, they just didn't handle it well. For most of the year, he was hooping, and it was a shame to see them work so hard, but lose their spot to the Portland Trail Blazers. But I think when you look at those stats and how they performed, and again, like I said, losing Jaren Jackson, you kind of get the idea of why ultimately the NBA might have preferred a method like this, because they may have foreseen a team like them being so young wouldn't be able to necessarily get things restarted off so cold like that after such a long layoff. So, shouts to him though for winning for winning Rookie of the Year. Many people were wondering if it was going to be him or Zion Williamson. I don't know how that was ever really a discussion, but it was. Zion only played 24 games, and yes, he averaged 22, 6, and 3 in those 24 games. But I think you kind of that's narrative based, and Ramona Shelburne came out earlier in the season and said that she would be voting for LeBron for MVP because she's more of a narrative-based voter. I, for one, thought that was a hilarious thing to say. I applaud her honesty, but, I mean, damn, that's probably one of the worst things you could say when you're deciding something that's pretty serious. It's not a little award. MVP is, kind of a big deal, kind of. And I think to hear that, man, was just one of those, like, oh, damn, that's not cool. I don't knock her again. I applaud her honesty, but it just was not one of those things that I think anybody really wanted to hear. So they lost 13 games out of the. I check the number here. Out of the 24 Zion played, 11 and 13 when Zion Williamson played. So we can talk about his 22 points and 6 boards a game, 2 assists, but they weren't winning. And when he played in the postseason, or in the bubble, rather, he was a big minus on the floor. 24 games, not contributing to winning, can't stay on the floor, obviously, because I said 24 games. I don't know why there was any confusion. Now, he got 1 vote for first place. Ja got 99 first place votes. I just thought that was interesting that it was still a topic of conversation at this point in the game, that Zion could have possibly gotten the Rookie of the Year. Like, what? Come on, fam. Now, moving on to some other major news. The Brooklyn Nets have decided on a head coach, and it's not Greg Popovich, as many people had started to wonder about, with rumors of him selling his house in San Antonio. It's not interim head coach Jacques Vaughn. No, it is Steve Nash. That's right, Steve Nash, former Phoenix Sun and Dallas Maverick. Steve Nash, and former Laker Steve Nash, is stepping into the head coaching role with the Brooklyn Nets. Now, this one came out of left field completely because nobody had even known that he was interested in coaching. Supposedly, he was, and he was also commentating on soccer games and trying to expand basketball in Canada. And now it gets this. And this, to me, now this sparked a lot of controversy because obviously with the social unrest going on right now, and the movement to correct a lot of hiring practices and things of that nature, getting Steve Nash in here brought up a lot of unhealed wounds. It reopened a lot of sores. With a guy with no experience in coaching, again, not expressing a desire to want to go into coaching. Meanwhile, you have a lot of coaches who are melanated. A lot of black coaches out here who are openly going their Jacques Vaughn, like I just said. People bring up Mark Jackson, but I think Mark Jackson's days on the bench are done for reasons that aren't as clear-cut as people would like to make them come off. And if you check out the No Countouts, shout out to No Countouts pods, the Around the Clock, Clocker Sports Roundtable podcast, you'll hear us talk about this, and I actually bring up this point. Mark Jackson is probably not going to get another coaching job. He said some things that are just not going to be permissible, at least for a while longer, I think. Then you had a couple of good examples, really, really good ones. Sam Cassell, you had, I believe, Jerry Stackhouse, who's been coaching down in the G League. Juwan Howard's been a coach. You wonder why guys like that haven't gotten the option. And so with the Steve Nash case, this is a unique one because in general, I do agree with that premise that, it needs to happen more. And you can point to a Jason Kidd or there was another example that came out a lot on social media of a black coach that gets that kind of opportunity out of nowhere, the take a chance kind of opportunity that I like to call it. The frequency is what's the issue, I think, with a lot of people. And I agree, because as a person who has seen it, I've seen it. You kind of wish that happens. That being said, I'm not sure Steve Nash falls in this under that umbrella, being that he has such a close connection to everybody in the Brooklyn Nets organization. Now, if you want to talk about a bum deal, or it's a bum deal for Jacques Vaughn to be staying on as the bench coach, even though he had the spare parts of the Nets playing well in the bubble, well, I will remind you that those spare parts are indeed spare parts. And just a few months ago, rumors were out that Katie and Kyrie were desiring a third star to come and join them and wanted management to make some moves. So those guys are expendable. Whether they had a good connection with Jacques or not, they're expendable. And whoever stays, you still got Jacques there. Now, you might want to say, well, Jacques should have got the head. That's true. Jacques also decided to stay there on the bench and accept that salary that's close to a head coaching salary. It's a cheap one, but still close, to kind of help Nash with the transition. Now, it's going to be interesting because, again, like I said, I generally agree with that premise that it needs to happen more for black coaches, especially in a league like the NBA that is predominantly black. But I don't think Steve Nash qualifies for that. Again, he's close to everybody. Sean Marks played with him down in Phoenix. Kevin Durant was on the Warriors, where Steve Nash was an assistant coach and player development consultant type of dude. Kyrie Irving is close with him. This is one of those situations. It's the outlier. I know people who are adamant about this are not going to want to hear that, but this is definitely an outlier situation where it was it's more nepotism than it is anything else. And The other point about that is people will say that Kyrie Irving was on the forefront of not restarting the season due to it being a distraction from social justice stuff, and saying that this is kind of counterintuitive to any of that. I would argue that point and saying that, or argue against that rather, saying it kind of proves it because he doesn't care. It doesn't matter. It's not an impactful decision in that type of scope, or at least it shouldn't be. And I would agree. I'm a person who often laments celebrities and athletes being put to the forefront for the black community only in regards to serious matters, because when they inevitably fall short of what needs to be done in those arenas, they're looked at as failures, when in actuality they should be championed for bringing light to a situation. Most often than not, is being largely ignored. So that's my thoughts on that. Real quick spiel about things outside of the necessarily floor region of the sports world. Let's get to some on the court action though, and talk about some of these NBA happenings. We had 2 Game 7 since we last spoke. We got to see the Denver Nuggets take out the Utah Jazz once and for all in a game that ended up 80-78. And to make matters worse, man, it came down to the very, very end. You had calls going all over the place. I think one of the things that we saw from Denver in the last shot that didn't make it, these are 2 teams, like I said before this series, that I don't think are going to make it to the finals, or if they make it to the Western Conference Finals, I don't think they're going to make any much noise. And if they get to the finals, which I don't think is happening, they're fodder. They're missing that one extra piece to get them over the hump. The Jazz especially are a piece short, and Donovan Mitchell, for all the heroics that he has pulled off throughout the series, 22 points, and he struggled for much of the game. But I think they kind of earned him back. Now, Rudy Gobert hit a big shot at the end of this one to kind of keep it tight. But in the end, they just didn't have enough. And I said before that they missed Bojan, because Boban is in Sacramento. Bojan, and they're not related. Bojan. They missed Bojan, and it showed. Mitchell only had 2 points in the fourth quarter as he went 1 for 4. Mike Conley was 1 for 7 as he only had 2 points. You got 10 from Rudy Gobert though, and you would like to think that that would have helped them get it, but you can't stop after they had already gotten handled for the first half. It's disappointing because they really outscored Denver in the second half, but they put themselves in such a hole early on that it just didn't matter, and they couldn't get enough. And like I said, you get 2 points from Donovan Mitchell in the fourth quarter. No free throws. They only had 3 free throw attempts in the entire fourth quarter. Like, it's just not a good game from them, and it's sad because it was a really great series. It's really sad to see it come to an end this way. Denver, I think, is going to be exhausted, and they got spanked by the Clippers Thursday night. So don't think that it won't show up. Now we'll see what happens going forward, but they expended a lot of energy. Jamal Murray, who was having heroics as well, just like Donovan Mitchell, also had a rather down game in this one, walking away with just 17 points on 7-21 shooting, 1 of 6 from 3. Like, there were a lot of dead legs in this one, and it showed. That's Game 7. That's what you would expect. But the Nuggets were able to just hit more shots when it mattered. And I know that's so cliche, but when you look at the Jazz and what they can't do, for all of his defensive prowess, and I guess it's a solid offensive game. Rudy Gobert had 19 and 18. That's a really good game. The Jazz are just missing that third threat, right? I guess, because I would say second threat, but that third threat for sure to make them a more complete team. And you can't help but wonder what they would have done if they would have had Bojan. And I'm sure that's going to be something that they're wondering about. But I think that more than anything, and we heard about it, they kept Donovan Mitchell happy after all of the rumors. And it's just outside rumors, but there were rumors that, he could be looking for a way out after what happened with Rudy Gobert and all this and the third. I told you, when Gobert sunk that basket, there was nobody happier than Mitchell, and then it broke that they were working on an extension and that he expects to complete that sometime soon. So Yeah, Jazz are a guy short, and even with Boyan, maybe they don't have enough, but I know that they definitely didn't have enough without him. Denver is going to be in trouble, and like I said, we just saw them get clobbered by about 25 points against the Los Angeles Clippers on Thursday night in a game that the Clippers came out and made sure that they jumped on. Now, it was a little bit back. I mean, early on, it was like back and forth, right? But that didn't last very long. And I'm not surprised because I think what we saw from the Clippers was a team that has not played together very much, playing together and really figuring out what it is that they can all do. And when you figure that out, they just start playing. So I often lament how they don't have the true point guard to set up anything for that offense. And they still don't. That's still going to be an issue going forward. But right now, I don't think it is because the the Denver Nuggets don't really have that guy either. Like, Monty Morris is that dude, right? But he's not, you're not running him out for more than his allotted time. He's not impacting the game that way, if that makes any sense. So the starting lineup for the Nuggets is unconventional in its own way. Their point guard is essentially Nikola Jokic, right? And you have Murray in the off guard and blah 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 down the line. Even though Murray's the one who plays point guard, he's really a scorer. He's really an off guard, but he's a scoring point guard at worst, or I guess the way that I would say it. And so when you look at them and how they got beat 120 to 97, they closed the gap a little bit, 23 points, not nearly as bad. It's not surprising. The Clippers have, after getting put on their heels by the dang man, I am all over the place with this, by the Dallas Mavericks in the first round. They came out and were ready to go. They were tied after the first quarter, 31-31, but the Clippers outscored Denver 38-20 in the second quarter, and then 22-16 in the third quarter, and Denver only had a 1-point advantage in the fourth quarter, so it just wasn't happening. At one point, the Clippers led by 29 points, and they got 18 points off of turnovers to Denver's 10. So you see that what's strangest to me, though, is points in the paint was 66-40 in favor of the Clippers. I've been complaining that their weakness is going to be down low, and wondering exactly what it is that Ivica Zubac does for this team and what he's going to do when he goes up against his former team in the Los Angeles Lakers. Yes, when, not if. He had 4 points, right? But they got 15 from Montrezl Harrell. So he may be finally waking up after getting the rust off from coming back in the bubble. They only got 19 from Paul George, but he shot 46% from the floor. He only shot 28% from threes. He's still trying to find that range, but he shot 7 free throw attempts, got hitting 5 of them. So you see him being active elsewhere. He also had 7 boards and 4 assists. I'd like to see those assist numbers come up. I've been talking about this. I want to see him be more of the point guard in this situation. If he's not shooting it well, get to the hole and distribute the ball, play make. That's a skill of his, a plus skill of his. So I'm often shocked to see how much they have Kawhi doing it, especially with the amount of defensive responsibilities that he has had so far and will continue to have throughout this postseason run. That's one thing to keep an eye on, is that maybe they try to ease some of the burden on him by doing that and just getting a little bit of help for him. Marcus Morris chipped in 18 points, and he also got 10 from Lou Will after he had those streak of 20-plus games. He kind of cooled off in this one, but they didn't really need him because they were smacking Denver all around. You only got 12 from Jamal Murray. He was 5 of 15 as he's still tired. The dead legs. That's what I'm saying. I don't know if this is going to come back for them. They might be cooked. 2 of 8 from 3 from Murray. Nikola Jokic had 15 and 3 boards. And I tell you every time, you already know what I'm going to say. Whenever I see, I'm sorry. That's not right. Yeah, no, 15 and 3. Every time I see a 7-footer with less than 10 rebounds, I get pissed. When I see one with less than 5, ugh. And for all of his talent, this is one of the things that Jokic kind of bothers me with. His the lack of physicality. You're that big. You gotta be snatching down closer to 10. And I know this is a rarity or not a common occurrence, but it happened and it cost them. And they're gonna wonder where it went off the rails. And I can tell you right now that going 9 for 36 as a team from 3 is a good place to begin looking and wondering what the hell you gotta do to fix all of that, because that's just not good. That's not good. Like I said, they got blown out. It wasn't even close. Not even close. It was kind of sad. I don't feel bad for them, but I feel bad for them. The other game 7 that I want to talk about was the Oklahoma City Thunder taking on the Houston Rockets and nearly sending them home, except for the fact that foul calls and tomfoolery came into play. You really had both teams complaining about the referee in the game, and his name is it just left me, and I can't bring it back right now. This is gonna piss me off for the rest of the episode. They complained about the referee for their game, knowing that the history that they have between them, and it sure enough played out to having some penalties late on. You had Lou Dort, who's been a darling in this series, for locking up James Harden. He dropped 30 points in the game. Late, though, tried to throw a ball off of James Harden while standing in bounds, mind you. Lou Dort tried to throw it off of James Harden because he tweaked and ended up turning the ball over to the Rockets after Chris Paul had tried to pull some more late game heroics and chuck a pass over it. There were bad calls. There are bad calls, and then there are horrible calls. And I'm not sure this is the most egregious one, but I know for certain that people are going to talk about this for the rest of the time, and especially if the Rockets ultimately get smoked by the Lakers, they're going to wonder exactly what happens if it were to be the Thunder instead. I don't think that you can necessarily look at the fact that there was a close series and say, these teams are close. I think the Rockets are the better team. I think this being such a fueled by pettiness game, right, where James Harden struggles, a series rather, and James Harden has struggled. Russell Westbrook has missed the first few games, came back, he struggled, built his way back up. I think, both of these guys had to kind of get over this hump. James has been to the Western Conference Finals, or made it out of the first round at the very least. Russ hasn't. But James has also faded a lot. That game 6 where Russ turned the ball over, James was nowhere to be found. Why didn't he touch the ball? Well, he blocked the shot that Lou Dort ended up having to go and try to throw off of his legs. That's a big defensive play for a guy that gets a lot of flack for not being a defensive player, right? So I think that we kind of have to, step back and realize, while Harden is not necessarily the guy that we might want him to be, a lot of people don't like his playing style, whatever, I don't really care about that. He's making winning plays, and we've already seen that he doesn't feel like he's bigger than the team because he's brought in guys who have directly contradicted his playing style and openly adjusted, willingly adjusted to try to fit them in. I think that speaks volumes to him and everything that he stands for. So, they took out the Oklahoma City Thunder. Chris Paul was masterful. Once again, 19 points, 11 rebounds, 12 assists, and his triple-double. We didn't even talk about that triple-double. He was 66 from the line. That's the quietest triple-double I've seen. This is a petty series. Eric Gordon woke up, 21 points. You got 20 points from Russ, like I said, 21 from Robert Covington. And Hart only had 17, but he went 1 of 9 from 3. Man, it was it was a hard fought series, and maybe the Rockets match up better with the Lakers. But if the Lakers took anything away from this, they should have noticed how the Thunder, even though it's not really his game, kind of misused Steven Adams and not made him more of an offensive weapon throughout this, because the Rockets had nobody to stop him if they really wanted to, even if they wanted to. So that was a waste. But I don't think Billy Donovan's that great of a coach. I think CP3 elevated this team to where they've gotten, and yeah, we see what happens when you don't have enough against a team that's going. And like I said, you still got the report that it's not. Or you still had CP3 talking about Scott Foster. There's his name. Scott had CP3 talking about Scott Foster after the game and how he knows he's going to be fine because he was talking about him beforehand and all this, that, and the third. I think that it kind of stands to reason that this series was as tight as it was. There was a lot behind it. It wasn't just a basketball series or a typical series. This was personal. The former team of the two guys on the Rockets, the former team of the guy on the Thunder. A lot of trading happening and this, that, and the third between the two organizations. And so, yeah, it's just one of those things that kind of it fit perfectly. I don't know what's gonna happen. I'm gonna look at that. I think maybe tomorrow they play Friday. I think the Lakers are going to smash them, honestly. I think the Rockets' small ball is cute, but with the team that's as talented as the Lakers, there's no time to be off like the Rockets have been. Maybe they rise up to the occasion, but I don't think so. 5 games top, 6 maybe. I think 5 games, and it's probably a wrap, though, seeing what I've seen from the Rockets so far. Next up, after losing to the falling down 0-2 to the Miami Heat, which I said is going to happen. Miami's going to win this series. But the Milwaukee Bucks and Giannis Antetokounmpo have fallen 0-2 to the Miami Heat. Richard Jefferson says that Giannis might be more of a Pippen than a Michael Jordan. He said it's okay. He says Kobe was a second, star guy to Shaq. Or no, he said Shaq was the most dominant guy until he needed Kobe late in the series, and then he needed a closer. People took that as a pejorative, as he was trying to, take a shot. He apologized. Pippen came out and clapped back and said, I'm not Giannis. I'm not a 2-time MVP. But the better question is, who were you? And RJ had to come out on Greeny's show and apologize, or clarify rather. Let me not say apologize. Clarify that Pip's one of his favorite guys. And you can see why. They're very similarly built, very similar, I would say very similar style games, honestly. And so he didn't mean it as a bad comparison, but being called Pippen is basically being called Robin. Now, it might be the greatest Robin ever, but it's still Robin, and a lot of people still think of Giannis as Batman. Now, I know what he means, and I could see if Giannis doesn't get any better, I would agree. And he is kind of stagnating. I will say that there has been a bit of a stall in the development of his game. He's developed a little bit more of a mid-range, but it's not to the level that probably I think many people thought it would be after his rapid acceleration and how he developed over the first few years of his career. So we'll see how that turns out. But yeah, the diss came. Speaking of another diss, you had Jay Williams, former Chicago Bull, former Duke Blue Devil Jay Williams, and now ESPN analyst, come out and talk about how it's not a bad thing. He was defending what RJ said and saying it's not bad. And that's the one, Jay Williams is the one who made the comparison to Shaq and Kobe, and said that LeBron was also the Robin to D Wade the first time around. LeBron responded with, what the F do I got to do with any of this? I'm trying to chill and get ready for Houston. And it's at the third. And people are like, yeah, clapback game strong. And that's true. The clapback game strong. But much like Pippen, I feel like this shows how much it touched the nerve more than anything. And with Pippen, all you got to do is bring up Future. And that's a dead issue, right? It's moot at that point. It's all moot. Okay, sir? Future Hendricks. Okay, sir? Mr. Pippen. That'd have been it. Good for Pip though for standing up for himself. No bull. He came in hot. For LeBron, Jay Williams says a lot of stuff that just for some reason that feels like he's trying too hard to me. I said that when he talked about Montrezl Harrell. He made the whole video on his porch or some crap like that. And I don't mean disrespect. I just felt like it was trying too hard. Like I would, I'm sure I've done it at some point. I tried not to, but it just felt like it was a point where he was trying way too hard to be sincere or to be impactful in what he was saying. And it was like, yeah, no, he shouldn't have said it. Like, you don't have to make a 5-minute video to deduce that, right? You could say that he shouldn't have said it. And I'm talking about calling Luka what he called. And we won't discuss what it was, but he said it. Shouldn't have been said. Move on. I felt like that one was a disingenuous attempt to try to, again, like I said, stand out on a situation that had been heavily discussed already, and again, didn't require you to do the stoop video, but addressing it would have been just fine, and moving on. But yeah, but Toronto. So I tweeted out earlier, Toronto took on the Boston Celtics down 0-2, and it looked like it was about to be down 0-3 until at the last moment, OG Anunoby hit a three-pointer to take the lead and win the game for the Toronto Raptors. And if you see the picture floating around social media, Kyle Lowry is just cheesing. I mean, super happy. It was a back-and-forth contest. The Raptors, gave a lot. Spending a lot of energy. They got 25 out of Fred VanVleet, who finally snapped out of his slumber, even though he only shot 40% from the floor. He hit 38% from three. You got 31 from Kyle Lowry. You got 16 from Pascal Siakam. Marc Gasol gave you 10. You got only 8 from Norman Powell. You got 12, like I said, from OG Anunoby, who hit that 3. 12 and 10, actually, as he was crashing the boards as well. Kyle Lowry, man, fills up the stat sheets. I say he had 31 points. He also had 6 boards and 8 assists. He does a little bit of everything. But the awakening, I guess, as it were, of Fred VanVleet is a nice, welcome sight. You still want to see Pascal Siakam do a little bit more. I think we rush to crown him as a superstar or a superstar on the right. He might be a star. Right now, I think he's just an all-star. And that's a difference to me. We'll see what happens going forward in the series. They didn't even get a good game, though, out of Jason Tatum. He only got 15 points. He had 9 boards, 6 assists. He only shot 27% from the floor, 25% from 3. So if Tatum goes off, this is a whole different ball game. You got 19 from Jaylen Brown. He shot 60% from the floor. He missed his 2 3-point attempts, but he also had 12 boards. So Jaylen does what he does, and he does his thing on defense too. 29 from Kemba. Kemba's been hitting big shots. And I tweeted this out too. Again, follow me on Twitter at JoshGBuck. You just wonder what Kemba Walker could have done if he was on a serious competing organization for his entire career. It's really sad that he's wasted his career because he's looked like a godsend to these Boston Celtics in these here playoffs. So excited to see what happens with them going forward. I thought they were toast. I tweeted that out, like I said. Had to retweet to ignore that one. Disregard. Because they hit that shot and it was a wrap. And we'll see. I think they spending a lot of energy, though. If they don't, they're going to have to win the next one. Because if they don't, I don't see them coming back from 3-1, even though we've already seen it this postseason. Switching gears over to the NFL, the New England Patriots have named Cam Newton the starter and the captain. So now, not only is he Superman, but he's also Captain America. Cam Newton went into camp as the obvious choice for starter, but they put him through the dog and pony show with Brian Hoyer, who by all accounts was doing well, but it's Brian Hoyer. The wheels are going to come off of that ride sooner or later. And Jarrett Stidham, who by all accounts has just been pretty much going down the leg. Now, he got hurt, but he wasn't doing great before that anyway, so it's not like they were, skipping over somebody who was just lighting the world on fire. That's not the case at all. That's great to hear. Cam, as you know, Cam and Russell Westbrook, and I'm going to say this again, I've said it before, but I need to make it clear one more time. Cam and Russell Westbrook are my favorite players in the NBA and NFL, respectively. And I think I got that backwards, but you get where I'm going with this. So, if I say it, I'm probably talking about them, I'm probably being a little bit biased, but I can admit that right here, right now. That being said, it was almost a foregone conclusion that Cam would be the starter in New England. First of all, you don't bring in a guy like Cam Newton unless you are willing to do that, to make him the starter, because you know that he's going to bring some kind of a media frenzy with him just because of his personality and who he's been in the past. 2, you especially don't do that if you're the Bill Belichick Patriots. So, while I am wondering how far they can go without revamping that offense, retooling as it were, I do think that they can get something out of him. So That's probably a good sign for Cam. And again, they made him a captain, and he is a starter. So I'm all for that. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers landed running back Leonard Fournette from the Jacksonville Jaguars. He was cut after a tumultuous 4 years down in the Panhandle, down in Jacksonville. And honestly, this was one that I think we all saw coming for a while. He's been a guy who, when healthy, is a difference maker. He's a grinder, a plotter. That's a nice way of saying he's slow-footed. But he's a bruising running back, an old-school style guy who, between the tackles, is really dangerous, but couldn't stay on the field and wasn't really getting along with the coaching staff down there. Now, I think ultimately they're going to realize that it was a mistake to take these coaches over the players that they have jettisoned in the past few years, but that's the reasoning behind it. Let's make no bones about why they did what they're doing and why Fournette would now be taking the handoff from Tom Brady. And he's coming off of a 1,100-yard season, 3 touchdowns only, though. Played 15 games. That's the most he's played in his career. He was 13 in his rookie season, 8 in 2018. He also caught a career-high 76 passes for 522 yards. I think the thing is, though, he had 265 carries, and those carries are going to add up over time. So maybe they just felt like it was time to move on. But, dude, you gave him away, and they came out and said they couldn't find a trading partner for him with the, what was it, 5th, 6th, 7th round pick examples they were giving out there, and they couldn't find anybody to take him. Well, you let him go for nothing off of his most productive season yet. That's good luck. Good luck with that, Jacksonville. I find it hard to say that that's a smart move. Again, who knows what you're going to replace him with? Maybe they call Devontae Freeman. But, whatever. That's all I can say to that. There are some teams that I say are destined to be glorified farm systems because of how they handle their personnel, and this, I think, is one of those examples. I'm not saying he was great, and I know that they're clashing, but I think that you might have picked the wrong side of that clash. That's all I'm saying. Moving here to Chicago. Bears head coach Matt Nagy has said that he is not certain that the staff is undecided yet as to who the quarterback will be, and they will discuss it this weekend before announcing it ahead of the Lions game. Bullshit. Don't believe it. Don't believe it. Don't believe it. Here's the thing. If you've gone into this entire time, now granted, you didn't get any preseason games to see it happen, but if you've gone through all of this and you still don't know, now, it'd be different if we'd have gotten word that these guys were just lighting it up in practice, but we haven't gotten that. Now, I know they're not allowed to describe much with the new rules for camp and all that, but there hasn't been any raving whatsoever. There's been, hey, this was a good day. Hey, this is a good play, but it hasn't been great consistently. And so saying you don't know reinforces that, but on top of it, it makes you look like it doesn't help you in any way, shape, or form. You don't look like you're being coy or slick. It looks like you haven't been able to work out your own process. And it reminds me a lot of the kicking competition where, it was back and forth and back and forth and back and forth between Pinheiro and I can't remember the other guy's name. I want to say Fry, but that's not right. I don't think that's right. And now we got Cairo Santos, but you just got this back and forth, and it seems like there's much ado about nothing. Now, there's speculation that if it was Mitchell Trubisky who was going to be the starter, they would have announced it already because they'd be so happy that Mitch had went out there and won the job. Counterintuitive to that would be, well, you don't want to. I guess I don't know. There's not really any. But I kind of have to agree that if it was Mitch, they would want to let everybody know that he had won it. But what if it's not that Mitch won it? What if it's that Mitch got it because Foles didn't win it, right? That I think needs to be the concern. And I think that's what most people's concern is, that it's not necessarily that you're going to have a guy it's not that both guys are bad, so neither guy is really that good. That's concerning. It has to be. It has to be a worry for many people, especially with all the questions: safety, cornerback, the offensive line, the running back position. Who's going to step up a wide receiver? There's a lot of questions here that need answering, and you just don't seem like you're getting them right now. And Nagy playing that game, man. That's classic Nagy right there. Yeah, we don't know. I call shenanigans, sir. I call shenanigans. That's going to do it for this episode of Triple Zeros. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at Josh Ebuck. Hit up the Facebook page, Clocker Sports, the website, clockersports.com. The email address is clockersports@gmail.com. Also, check out the stuff Last Word on Pro Football, PippinAintEasy.com, American Betting Experts, and, of course, clockersports.com. Until the very next time, man, I'm gone.